On the Red Crow Res, growing up means getting even. We're talking movies. We're talking Rhymes for Young Ghouls, starring Devery Jacobs, Brandon Oakes, and Glenn Gould. Written by and directed by Jeff Barnaby. Let's jam out with our clams out.
I got a more serious quote. My world ends at the border of the reserve, where dirt roads open up to dreams of things you can never be here. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of How'd You Like That Movie? We're going to be talking about Jeff Barnaby's 2013 film, Rhymes for Young Ghouls. This is a pretty heavy film. So there's definitely normally we don't even bother with trigger warnings, but there's a lot of like sexual assault and suicide and stuff like that. So just be cautious if you're listening to that. If you have any of those triggers, maybe don't listen to this episode. Like I said, great film that we're going to be talking about, but there is some really heavy content. Scott, do you want to take us away?
Okay, so first I'm going to say something serious before we get into our usual hilarity here. And it's just really three things I need to get off my chest. One, this is really going to hurt, but Kris, you're 3 for 3 out of the enjoyment factor and movie picks that you had. Each film had really great subtext, especially and context, which brought on the greater issues going on. Now, the third thing I want to say is directed to Mr. Barnaby, who directed this film. I just really would like to apologize for this blatant attempt that Kris is doing on this episode to get you on our good graces so we can lock down a date for you to be a guest on this show, which makes me feel like a cheap whore, just like Tammy or whatever the fuck her name was in this movie.
BJ's here. Get your BJ's. Get your red hot BJ's. Toothless and ready to go. Just $3. $3. Get your BJ's here.
Things I do for this show, okay? We're trying to get an amazing director on this show, and the work I'm willing to put in so that Jeff is willing to go, hey, maybe I want to go talk to those guys over there. So you're welcome, Scott. You're welcome to the entire production team. You're welcome. Yeah, so this is I got to note, Mr. Jeff Barnaby, what the fuck, man? Like, what are we, like a minute and a half into this fucking movie, and it's like one of the most like viscerally disturbing things I've seen. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but with that car, when that thing happened, I was like, oh God, please don't be what I think it is. And it was.
Yeah, like I will say this, like in terms, this is the thing though, like any compliment I'm gonna make you feel like fuck. Right, we're just pandering. But I would say in terms of the writing itself, like I thought this film went in a lot of places that you don't really see, right? Like even even if you go your hardcore fucking horror movie, kids are okay.
Yes,
right?
For the most part, except It. Kids aren't really okay in It, but you don't see
it was the older kids, the teenagers that got it, and It, the young group survived.
What about the little kid, Georgie? He gets fucking like yanked into a fucking
Georgie
train.
doesn't count. He's the McGovern, or what is it called? The McGovern, the McGriffin, whatever.
Yeah, or something
the
like
MacGyver.
that.
I don't know. He's the MacGyver. Georgie doesn't count.
Hiya, Georgie. What a nice pony.
What you mean is lead characters. Like bad things don't happen to like lead characters with dialogue, like a ton of dialogue and stuff.
Yeah, in which when this film starts, you're assuming you're following this story, right?
Yes.
Like these siblings.
And then that happens, and you're like, well, that's fucked. And then in the next scene, more just like blatant like tragedy, and his fucking camera watching like the urine come down. I was like, fuck me, Jeff. Like, what the? This is gonna be a tough ride. I mean, it is very well done, but it is super fucking graphic, man.
Yeah, like my um
I'm really
the
not
one
trying to spoil anything because, like, yes, this film is from 2013, but there is a possibility that a lot of people haven't seen it. And right off the bat, I said, like, you definitely need to go watch it, but you need to prepare yourself. Like, you definitely need to prepare yourself around things, like I said, sexual violence, suicide, child abuse, all that shit. Because it's like Jeff Barnaby does not shy away from showing you this stuff. So
yeah, and what I was saying before was yeah, like the one shot that I was really um enjoyed or impressed with, but like the context in it is super bad. But I'm assuming it's when he put the camera on a track and it was just going to the side, and it was after the stripper raid, and it's just like one person getting beat down after the other person getting, and you're just like everything, like if it was one continuous shot, like I give a lot of props to that and kudos, because there's so many intricacies going on in which, you know, this person had to come out from the back, and then you see what happened to them, while in the forefront this guy is getting beat with like fucking nightstick or whatever the fuck it was, right?
yeah, that
Like I
shot,
thought,
that's the cinematography in this was actually really, really well done. The the cinematographer is Michael. It might be Michel, because I think he's French Canadian. Michel Saint Martin, who worked on Jeff's film Blood Quantum, also his shorts The Colony and File Under Miscellaneous. It's really well done. It's both artistic and very competent at the same time. But yeah, that tracking, I guess you would call that like a tracking shot. It's definitely a dolly shot, where the camera is like panning sideways, and you just kind of see, it's almost like what you would see in like a music video, where you would be seeing all this different action happening at the same time, and the camera's just kind of moving with it.
yeah, and I meant tracking shot as in terms of like the camera on a track, and it was just kind of pulling
Yeah,
this
they
way.
call that a dolly typically, right? So
Well, that's why you're the big time movie fucking award winning director, and I'm just the award winning actor.
both of which will be in Winnipeg for the Canadian International Comedy Film Festival for the film Unsolicited. Speaking of awards, though, so this did very well. It won Best Director and Best Actor at the American Indian Film Festival. It was nominated for Canadian Screen Award for Devilry Jacobs as Best Female Actor. And then it did well and won at the Vancouver International Film Festival for Jeff Barnaby's first feature. One thing I was actually surprised about is the set decoration and the costuming was fucking super cool. Both the Halloween costumes the kids put on when they go to do their raid, and Devilry Jacobs, like World War I gas mask that she wears when she's like painting and like rolling blunts and stuff like that. Like, I just thought that like all of that was super, super well done.
But
And
even
go ahead.
like, I don't know if you checked or not, but I am glad you brought this up. But even like the costume design in Blood Quantum, where the main character's like kind of costume, not the main character, but the son's costume, which is the poster of the movie, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was super impressed with like the costuming of this film too, because I thought it it goes twofold, which like it makes outstanding dramatic posters for the movie that you do stop and watch, right? Because the poster of the movie is her wearing that in front of her bike, right?
Yeah.
And then with Blood Cotton themselves is like him jumping down wearing his costume with his samurai sword, I think it was.
No. Isn't it a spear? Isn't it some type of spear?
Or no, is it the, oh my god, now I'm gonna have to check. I think it's the hockey stick. No, you're right. It's the made up kind of spear that they did.
But what I was actually going to get to is the fact that I was surprised that this didn't get any nominations at the Canadian Screen Awards for set decoration or for their costuming, because it was so interesting and so well done. Unfortunately, I have this. This was the second Canadian Screen Awards when in 2014. Unfortunately for this film, Jeff Barnaby was competing with Denis Villeneuve for Enemy. Like, there was some serious, like, Jake Gyllenhaal is in leading role. There was like some actually big time films that just happened to come out at the same time as his, which I think might have overshadowed the work of Rhymes for Young Ghouls, which is unfortunate because again, I think he should have gotten more. Like he didn't get adapted screenplay or sorry, not original screenplay or any of the other things that I think would have. He definitely should have qualified for. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but even like they won, I think you said too, like at Tribeca, right? And like Tribeca's huge. That's De Niro's, right?
Yeah, that is De Niro's.
So even that, like he can be like, "Fuck you, Villeneuve, take that," right?
Yeah, or just fuck you, Canadian Screen Awards, for like yet again not seeming to actually watch the films that you nominate. Because again, I think definitely in the costuming section, even like this, I know it was like not so much scoring, but even his use of contemporary music. Okay, get ready to drink. Aspects of this definitely had a very like Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino kind of vibe.
He said it. He said it.
Including specifically that dolly shot and his like really fantastic use of contemporary music. You know what I mean? I mean, he doesn't have the like hardcore editing that most Tarantino films, you can drink again, have. But again, also the use of like extreme violence, you know?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But I was reading something kind of interesting as well. I'm just trying to pull up the screen here. In terms of oh my god, what's the word I'm looking for? Inspiration for this film.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was the weirdest inspiration that I thought of. But after reading it and then thinking back of the movie, it kind of makes sense. So here I found it. So according to writer director Jeff Barnaby, one of his inspirations was Conan the Barbarian, a story about someone seeking vengeance against a cult that destroyed their family.
Okay.
Right. And then you kind of like when you're seeing it, when it got close to the end, like of this film, Conan was the same, in which they had the intricate like infiltration scene to get into like fucking chop off James Earl Jones's head, right? And this one's the same kind of thing. Like they had this intricate like scheme to get their money back and how to infiltrate the school.
Yeah,
which I was very impressed with the writing too, because like the way it was set up, it made it really seem like it was gonna fail. But then you find out it's all part of the fucking plan.
Oh yeah, like, and again, I definitely don't want to talk about how that went down, but that curveball, and you're just like, fuck, like this, and then it just totally goes in a different way. That whole what was that, third act or whatever, is fucking awesome. Again, also the violence against Popper, which, okay, this is the only thing, and if we do ever get Jeff Barnaby on the show, I do want to ask him about the casting of Mark Anthony Kruppa, because he was the only actor that I felt like was miscast. That's the, like, I guess, like Indian agent, RCMP / authority figure. Because to me,
the guy at the end who's like, I'm not going to let you continue this grow up.
No. I'm talking about like the main baddie, the baddie guy, right?
Oh, so the truant officer.
Yeah, the truant officer. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Because to me, he's like, and it may be because the car he rolls up in gives me a very like American gangster vibe, like the Josh Brolin kind of character in American Gangster. And so then all of a sudden I was expecting that, and he was a bit too like weak in like it, like his speaking pattern was a bit like weak, like it wasn't as strong as I wanted. And I just had this expectation of this, again, more of a hardcore Josh Brolin character. Like, I mean, the violence he's putting out is super hardcore, but I just wanted a stronger kind of actor. And there might be
see, I think if I can interject, which, you know, I'm the fucking co-host, so I get to talk too. I think the way he's portrayed is way scarier because he's the calm guy that's quiet voiced, and he just says something, and then his
Like minions.
henchmen are just fucking like, they are the ones that like go crazy and like kind of enforce everything. And he caught like everything that happened, like when it was the fight with the father, right, on the beach, right, like everybody, he's just standing there watching it the whole time. And then once the fight's over, you know, he's the fucking asshole walking over with the gas can, right, and just be like, seeing what you're making me do, see,
Yeah, maybe.
like I didn't want to do this.
I mean, that character is a bitch right from the beginning, because like when Glenn Gould's character Joseph like basically saves him from two other indigenous boys when they're younger, he fucking rats them all out and then like knocks out Joseph with that fucking club. You know what I mean?
Yes, and I think that's where he, you know, it shows kind of like it's your villain origin story, right? Like he enjoyed that like sadistic fucking punishment he was relaying, that he, you know, continued on that path, right?
Yeah, and again, so yeah, maybe having less of like a tough, like an actual like tough feeling character does make it more insidious, right? Like this, to be honest, kind of like a weak person wielding all this power, right? Maybe that is actually done to showcase like how much of a bully he is versus an authority figure, you know?
Yeah, like I'm sure with yourself as well, like in this film you probably like rewound it a couple of times and you're just like, man, that was some massive shrinkage that guy had in the shower. Like that must have been some cold fucking poo, right?
I was in the pool! I was in the pool!
But then I'm like, man,
I love how I didn't even think of that, but you have dialed in on the penis size again. I mean, we have talked about William Dafoe's penis on this. We have talked about
but
Boogie
more,
Nights'
it's
penis.
more like giving the guy fucking credit.
How'd you like that penis with Scott?
That's my website. Yeah.
www.cock.com. ScottCock.com.
I'm seeing how it goes. If it goes well, then I'll open my OnlyFans.
Boner alert.
But what I was gonna say is like the actor commitment too, man, because that was full like 70s bush on that thing too.
Yeah, I mean, maybe
Right.
that's why it looks small, because the bush is so big.
Yeah, it was. I was comparing him to, I'm like, I might have to go back and watch the Jaws and IMAX too, and to see whose bush was bigger. The lifeguards or his, but it went well.
Have you watched any of Jeff Barnaby's short stuff? Like
No,
The
I
Colony
haven't
or-
watched the shorts. I know you sent them to me, but I honestly did not have a time to watch it yet. But I did want to save them as well for next month for Halloween, because you were telling me how good body horror it was.
Yeah, definitely file under miscellaneous is like straight up Cronenberg level body horror. Like it's the type of body horror where you like go, oh man, like I don't know if I can watch that. So, but also, you know, I'm kind of like a pussy when it comes to this stuff. So my quote this week is from Michael Reichstaffen from the Los Angeles Times, and he says that writer-director Barnaby weaves a surprising amount of tenderness into the fabric of violence, as well as a good measure of magic realism to keep the gritty story engaging. Yeah, it seems like Jeff likes zombies too. Like he managed to throw a zombie in there, so I don't know.
Well,
If-
not a real
if that's a-
zombie, but
What do you mean not a real zombie? It fucking came out of the ground, and like, do you think that was like a spirit zombie, or do you think they were just like seeing it? Because typically when you see a ghost, you don't see it in zombie form, do you?
well, what I took out of it, and I don't know if that's what it is, but if it is what I took out of it, like it's what he did a lot better than the film we did prior, Monkey B, where if it is
Which also has Glenn Gould in it, by the way.
if it is you know, in terms of how, you know, this Catholic church took away them from their there are traditions and stuff where the mother was buried without her name. And that's why even the like that the tantrum the father had kind of explains that culture. Like if it is that tradition, and that's kind of where I got from it, is like if they're buried without the name, they're roaming the earth trying to find, you know,
like peace kind of thing, like solitude.
Yeah. So
Anybody who I should have brought up, this is a very pointed comment on the Canadian government's residential school system. I should have put that right in at the beginning of the show, just so you understand the context that we're talking about. This film takes place in context. Thank you, with the Canadian residential school system. Sorry about that, Scott. Didn't mean to.
No, good. Yeah, I think like it is like, and I don't know if this is the right thing to say, but I do find it sad too, where like he had one, like that scene he had where, well, in her dream, she's walking with her brother, and then she walks upon the bodies of the kids, right?
Which kind of then ties into that wolf story. To me, that ties into the wolf story, of like the children hanging from the trees, and the wolf, you know, they all fall down and the wolf starts eating them. Like when I picture like when the children follow the trees, they, you know, falling into a big pit, which is again, you know, we're having these conversations right now here in Canada about, and that's the thing, mass graves, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like this film, give or take, you're looking at a decade prior. Like, why was this not a conversation then? Like
well, and now? What I think what most Indigenous nations would tell you is they did have these conversations, just people like us weren't listening.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, right? Like, well, why wasn't, like, you know, like, fuck, why wasn't the Pope coming 2 decades ago, 10 decades ago, 50 decades ago, right?
100%.
And
so one of the things that Barnaby's, you know, kind of known for is, first off, he uses, so he's a Mi'kmaq, and he uses both English and Mi'kmaq in this, and I believe in Blood Quantum they use it, you know, interchangeably as well. And then his cast is, so, you know, Devilry Jacobs is Mohawk, and she actually was in Mohawk Girls, which was done by Tracy Red Deer, who is the writer and director of Beans, which we did a couple episodes ago. Glenn Gould's also Mi'kmaq, and he was in Monkey Beach that we did last week. So, and then there's also Brandon Oakes, who's Mohawk, and he was in Through Black Spruce, also in Blood Quantum. And Roseanne Supernault is who plays Anna. She's Métis and Cree, and she was also with Brandon Oakes in Through Black Spruce. So all of these, sorry, I kind of got off track there. All these actors have kind of like worked together. They've worked with other directors that we've covered on the show as well. But yeah, like I said, I really like the fact that Jeff Barnaby tends to kind of tell he writes and directs his own stuff. It's very much in talking about cultural issues with the Mi'kmaq community. And then he casts like all these fantastic Indigenous actors from all kinds of different nations. I mean, Devilry Jacobs right now is like on fire.
So hot right now.
Right? So she was in Blood Quantum. Then she was in Mohawk Girls. Then she got on to American Gods, and she was in The Order. She's also on Rutherford Falls. And of course, like I think her big thing right now is Res Dogs, because she's also writing for Res Dogs as well. But she's been cast in the Disney, I guess it's like Marvel. Is it Echo? Is going to be the Marvel TV show or whatever. So like she's just exploding. Like she's probably one of the biggest Indigenous actors out there right now, like as far as like her star ascending. So
do you want to say that the name of the show is actually Reservation Dogs?
Oh yeah,
instead of Res Dogs.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. It's Reservation Dogs, which I love, right? That, and because their kind of image is them all in the black suits, just like Reservoir Dogs. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So hey, we've got to talk about Reservoir Dogs twice on this show.
Oh, I'm sure, you know, when Christmas time comes around and we're doing Christmas movies, you'll be like, man, remember Mr. White?
Wait, was that from the movie Blow or? So a really interesting piece of like, I don't know, like science trivia or whatever that I came up with, I guess maybe not. It's more about like, so the social sciences is so Doublery Jacobs' character, is it Ayla? Is that how you say her name?
Mhm.
Ayla? Actually inspired what's called the Ayla test. So it has to do with Indigenous representation, specifically female Indigenous representation in film. So similar to the Bechdel test, and the Bechdel test is when you look at works like artistic works, is there at least two women talking to each other, and are they talking about something other than men? And in films or plays, those women often also have to have like character names assigned to them. So this jumps off from the Bechdel test, and it adds three components. Is the main character Indigenous Aboriginal woman? So obviously, Doublery Jacobs is. Does she not fall in love with a white man? Because that's often a trope, right? Like kind of Pocahontas type of thing. And does
Mhm.
not end up basically having like sexual or other types of violence done to her. I mean, they kind of walk right up to the line, but luckily she's able to get out of that situation. But that test is named after her character in this film, which I thought, I mean, as a filmmaker, to be able to make a piece of art that then starts to transcend not just like your medium, but other spheres of academic study, I think is
Mhm.
super impressive.
Yeah, just going back to kind of what you were saying before in terms of like the fine line where the sexual violence was almost done upon her. That scene, like in terms with the shotgun, I will put that scene up against like
Hobo with a
it's
shotgun?
sorry. No,
You'll put it up against Hobo with a shotgun?
no, I was gonna say in terms of the shotgun blast and the effect of it, I would put that up right up against Romero's Dawn of the Dead, which had the best fucking zombie head shotgun blast. And this one, it was a close second because once it kind of like comes out and you see like the full effect and like the
The
side of
head?
his head just like flailing like that kind of thing, I was like, damn, for a practical effect, I'm like, which I'm gonna assume it was. It was fucking amazing. And like kudos too, from what I saw too, this film only had like a 1.5 million dollar budget, which
Yeah, and I mean, he seems to be able to stretch his budgets because I think what Blood Quantum was what 3 million or 5 million or something like that. Like
Mhm.
it was a decent budget, but it wasn't like massive. And he seems to be really good at like taking his budget, not just stretching it, but like doing a good job, right? Like you can make a budget do a lot of stuff and kind of be like, okay. I mean, what was the one we were talking? Slashback. You were like, I don't know. You can really see the kind of like low budget aspect
yeah,
to it or whatever.
like it looked like they used all their budget, they front ended all their budget, not back ended. And yeah, like with this film and with Blood Quantum, you can see that the money is spent well.
Oh yeah,
Right?
this at no point feels
It is
like low budget
not
at all.
oh no, it is not a Chris Langford production where all the money goes to him making hats, right? it is not that.
It definitely didn't go to paying the actors.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it has a running time of 88 minutes, which is like, that's in my sweet spot. I can't say it's fucking violent though, man. Like I do, again, I'm going to reiterate, you should watch this film. Maybe if you're going to watch it with your kids, watch it first. Watch it fucking first and then make some decisions about like where, like, you didn't watch this with your children, did you?
No, my wife watched it with me.
What did she say?
She I'm sad to say she did not like it, but she also has never seen Back to the Future, right? So her critiques in terms of what is a good movie is like her sample size is very, very low. So she wasn't big in watching movies. And as a case in point, one time when we were dating, she decided to take me out to a movie, and it was the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, at which no point she thought it was a horror movie. Like buying the tickets, looking at the poster.
Wait. The film is called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What did she think it was about?
A robbery. She thought it was like a robbery.
I mean, if your life is an item of value and someone uses a chainsaw to remove you of that life, then yeah, in some type of context, that is a robbery.
Yeah, so it was fun while we were dating, and I'm like walking in, and then she was like, "Oh, this is the movie we're gonna watch," and I'm like,
"You're like awesome! You're like,
I was super excited because I did want to
see it.
Yeah, I did want to see it, and I was like, fuck. I was all up, you know, Jordana Brewster. I was like just coming off of Fast and the Furious and all that shit, and The Faculty. Like, I was like, she got a good track record here, and I'm like, this should be good. And then I was like, but I didn't think you liked horror movies. And then she looked at me and she was just like, this is a horror movie.
It's like going to The Exorcist and being like, I mean, this exercise movie seems very popular right now, so maybe we'll get some workout tips.
I know, like they went, she watched Passion of the Christ, and she was like, you got to see this you know, this biography movie I just watched. It's really good.
with my white Jesus. Yeah, man, like I said, I highly recommend this film, not just because we're trying to get Jeff Barnaby on the show. I just think
but it does help.
It does, yes. I think that this is why you need to let Indigenous people tell their own fucking stories, because you're not gonna get this kind of story in this manner from a white person or anybody else. Like, and that's not trying to be woke. It's just like, let people tell their own stories, because they will tell them properly, and they will tell them with a different perspective, right? They will tell them with the a natural perspective. Like I said, Imagine Beans was like done by just some random like French Canadian director. Like, it's not the same. It's gonna show. I guarantee you, it would have shown those fucking French Canadian people in a totally different light, right? So opposed to feeling truly organic and natural. So highly recommend. Watch it first before you let your children watch it, but you may want to actually at some point have your children watch this film, because again, I think he does a really great job of really getting to the horrible aspects of residential school, and he does it all in 88 minutes. So.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com. Even to this day, like you'll see a hanging, but you don't see like fucking the piss and shit, right?
Well, yeah, man. And it's not. It wasn't even like some wide shot. It was like he might have actually dollied right up to it, or you cut to like a close up of the feet, and you're like, what the fuck? Again, I'm just like, we went from the first crazy thing to the second crazy thing, like a ba-ba, which makes sense if you think about it. Like, he was trying to, it clearly was like, no, this is fucking reality, bitch. Like, reality is not sugar-coated. Reality is not like you can turn your head away. Like, these things happen, and this is the consequence of these things happening.
Yeah, like even the one with you know, when the truant officers and all them beat the shit out of Burner, right? And then they put him in the car, they throw him out of the car, and they're like, fuck, you shit yourself.
Yeah.
That guy for like 10-15 minutes was getting beat on, that he had no control of his fucking bowels for the longest time, right? Like, it was 100% a realistic thing.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.